we're joined by Radu Albu-Comanescu. He's a fellow at the Visegrad Insight. Welcome to TVP World, sir. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you for the invitation and thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Now let's start with the last comment, or last part of the comment from my colleague. Prime Minister Johannes, he was certainly in line for Jens Stoltenberg's job. What happened? Why did he drop out?
Well, the decision to drop out came, let's say, at the last moment. He was the last to be standing against the favorite in the race, which was Mark Rutte, the former Prime Minister of the Netherlands. And the entire bid of Klaus Johannes to become Secretary General of NATO was actually less a personal ambition and more interpreted as a kind of message that Central and Eastern Europe should send to NATO Brussels and especially to Western allies. Central Eastern Europe does need a voice in the European and Euro-Atlantic institutions, and his entire explanation was focused on such a justification. He wanted to embody the interests of Central and Eastern Europe, especially in this case, the interests of the Black Sea area, because we are mainly concerned about what is happening in Ukraine and the Black Sea. Romania has a 600 plus kilometers frontier with Ukraine, which is, I think, the second in length following the Russian-Ukrainian frontier. So we are absolutely exposed, to put things like this, and exposed not only by geography, but also by and because of the Russian aggression in Ukraine. After the seizure of Crimea, Russia became de facto a neighbor of Romania and the Black Sea.
Right, certainly. But perhaps the fact that Mircea Joana, the outgoing Deputy Secretary General, also played a role because he is Romanian, right? But let me ask you about the Patriots, because Romania has promised to give Ukraine the Patriot system, however, in exchange of a US one, right? I mean, US was supposed to provide Romania with new air defense systems. So my question is, what is happening on that front?
Well, we are doing it, meaning that Romania is dedicated to its promise and will be delivering the Patriot. Now, as much as we know, the negotiations already started in February with regard to the possibility of replenishing or, replacing in time the Patriot system that we are going to provide Ukraine with. There was a question, however, if the replacement will come from the United States and will be another Patriot or a different compatible military equipment, or if it will come from European allies, for instance, France, because France already has a military mission in Romania, and they introduced the Mamba system at the Black Sea, which is quite a good competitor, to put it like that, in terms of quality and efficiency of the US Patriot, with, of course, a completely different range of attributes. But it is a good replacement, at least for what we need at this moment. And this allows us to help Ukraine, because when the house of your neighbor burns, you're definitely there to save, to act in his favor and save it.
Indeed. Now, Romania's role in the NATO architecture has certainly increased since the invasion, the full-scale invasion by Russia of Ukraine. What has changed? What has shifted in the mood of the government and the country?
Well, let's say that one day in February 2022, we just discovered that we had to act with by far more credibility and resilience than we imagined. Romania was already starting to spend more on military equipment so that we don't lag behind with the famous 2%. Which was, of course, Donald Trump's red line, and now we know how far this red line can go. But we did not expect to suddenly be in charge of so many operations, NATO operations at the Black Sea and at the frontier with Ukraine. So buying military equipment, from tanks to new jets, became a priority. And this was probably even more stated in the fact that Romania decided to rebuild completely the military base at the Black Sea near Constanța, the Mihail Cogălnicianu MK military base, which should be turned, following investment of $2.5 billion, into the largest military NATO military base at the Black Sea and in southeastern Europe. Apparently, according to some sources of information, it should be larger than the Ramstein base in Germany, holding like 10,000 soldiers and professionals in what will be an entire military town. So this is a strong reply, because we do need to anchor NATO at the Black Sea. It was a strategy that we tried to invite our allies to join 20 years ago. That was a bit before Romania became a member of NATO and of the European Union. But Romania did not have the right voice back then, did not, unfortunately, have enough credibility. And back then, I have to say, the relationship with Russia, as conceived and designed by the Western partners, was by far more friendlier, which means that Russia was not seen as an enemy, and therefore there was no need for a more, let's say, more pronounced military presence of NATO and the European Union at the Black Sea. The situation changed now dramatically. We have counselors. We work with the United States and partners from NATO in redesigning our strategy at the Black Sea. And this is a complicated area, because unlike the Baltic Sea, not all the members are members, or the surrounding states are members of the European Union or NATO. We have Turkey and Bulgaria that are NATO members. We have Ukraine, which is by now a victim of an illegal aggression. You have Russia, which is the aggressor. You have Georgia, which, still has to choose the right path for its future. So our partners at the Black Sea, as we have the presidency for a short while of the Black Sea Cooperation Organization, are not exactly the most cooperative, nor are the most transparent and honest. So unfortunately, this will take time, and it will involve lots of attention in designing this new strategy.
So let me ask you about Romania's defense spending, because there are conflicting reports on that front. So according to some, in 2023, the spending was 1.6% of GDP, which was below the expected threshold of 2% or even 2.5%, which President Iohannis has pledged in Madrid in 2022. However, some other people are saying that Romania is increasingly spending more on defense. So could you please clarify that?
Yes, indeed, Romania is dedicated to spending more. So every time, for instance, every year, we try to push the consumption, the budget dedicated to military spending to 2.5 and probably even 3%. But the difference that was revealed by other sources and by specialists comes from a very, let's say, bureaucratic reason. It is, for instance, it derives from the fact that sometimes military equipment is not available. So the money we put aside is not being spent, or some orders are being delayed. And we have to wait, for instance, which means that the acquisition will be pushed into the following budgetary year. So these are the reasons why, for instance, Romania spent only 1.6% of the 2.5% that was initially dedicated to military equipment and improving our military forces.
Understood. Now, I'd like to shift the conversation a little bit to Moldova, which, of course, is on the Romanian border and is turning out to be a bit of a hotspot with lots of Russian influence,
yes.
despite, of course, the Prime Minister wanting to get closer to NATO and the West. What is Romania's strategy towards Moldova's accession into NATO?
This is not an issue for the moment, meaning that while we support clearly the Moldova's bid for the European Union, the public opinion in Moldova is very divided when it comes to joining NATO. The country is in theory neutral, and this neutrality is unfortunately not sustainable, not self-sustainable. The Moldovan military forces would not be able to face, for instance, a military aggression coming from Russia on whichever front they may be. For instance, let's say an invasion coming from the south, if southern Ukraine collapses and Russia advances. In terms of European sympathies as well, Moldova is divided because only 61% of those who were questioned in a public poll 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago are in favor of Moldova joining the Euro-Atlantic structures, especially the European Union. So there's a lot of work to do, especially keeping in mind that we have Transnistria, which is a very problematic piece of territory, both European and Moldovan. And the reintegration of this strip of land into the statal structures of Moldova will imply an effort that I'm not sure that Chisinau and the official administration of the country will be able to manage soon. I'm saying this because Transnistria also triggers another region, a autonomous region of Moldova, Gagauzia, which is under Russian influence. Embraces the Russian narrative, and following the 1991 proclamation of independence of Moldova, obtained the right to self-proclaim independent if they consider that the unification to Romania, Moldova's unification to Romania, would somehow be against the interests of their community. There are not many. There are a couple of tens of thousands of Gagauz, which is a Turkic population of Christian religion, but very connected to Moscow. So therefore, you would have a double trouble, to put it like that, every time you try to bring Moldova closer to political and military structures that are embodying actually the Westerners. So what Romania's strategy is, of course, is subsidiary help where Moldova needs help and states needing help. Because if we intervene without being invited by the government, this will just create a narrative that Russia would use, for instance, of Romania abusing Moldova's neutrality or behaving in an imperialist way, which is already part of the Russian narrative against Romania.
Radu Albu-Comanescu, Visegrad Insight, thank you, sir, for being with us this evening and for
It was my
insights.
pleasure. Thank you.